Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. We'll wait just another minute or so while people file in. All right, we have a minute after, so we'll go ahead and get started. For anyone that hasn't joined our webinars before, hasn't gotten a chance to meet me yet, my name is Kendal Becker. I'm our fashion and beauty director here at Trendalytics. So I oversee all things related to trend and content. And today we're going to be talking about the top trends that ranked in for November 2025. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here and we'll dive into the deck. Okay, so we have our top trends here for November, which if you are not a Trendalytics client and haven't gotten to see a full version of this report, this is a very data heavy report that we do. It comes out every month, and we now have our webinar series that go along with it to dive in a little bit more to the qualitative and the storytelling behind all of that great data. Yeah. So we're going to be running through women's, men's, beauty, and children's markets. Firstly, of course, we have our methodology. So if you're not familiar, Trendalytics is an AI-powered platform that classifies trends into different life cycles here. So the ones that we're going to be focusing on are emerging trends and safe bet trends that have been around for a little bit longer and you can feel good about investing in. We'll ignore peaking and on its way out. We don't need to know that right now. So we want to focus on the good and exciting stuff happening. All right, so firstly, we will dive into women's. So we have our list here of emerging and safe bet trends. Just quickly, we're going to dive into specific themes and we'll dive into all of that good stuff with the storylines. But the overarching theme with the trend terms that we're populating this month kind of fell into two different buckets. So it felt like she was getting ready for a trip. Of course, let's say it's wedding season at the moment. We saw a lot of different bridesmaids dresses, occasion wear dresses, and then alongside with that, different ways to dress up those items. So lots and lots of jewelry terms. You can see here we have like floral clutch, which again, intuitively, it feels like, okay, for fall, you wouldn't normally think that floral clutch would be popping up. But when it's coming down to those occasion wear stylings, it makes sense that this is popping in. And the same thing with like satin hair bow. So just different ways that she's elevating now, of course, thinking, okay, we're coming towards the end of wedding guest season. So looking for some of those fun extras to keep the looks feeling interesting. And then also even thinking of if it's a destination wedding, we're still seeing a lot of swimwear terms populating at the moment too. And even some of that like lighter weight items like a cotton mini dress having a great percentage up 740% to last year. So really interesting just to see that. And it really, again, with all those trend terms coming together, creates a nice storyline for us. Okay, which again brings us deeper into the wedding season styles. So, as you mentioned, for the bridal party itself, we'll get into the specifics with those terms that we just mentioned. But magenta bridesmaid's dress being up 165% to last year. An ice blue bridesmaid's dress, I feel like I've been seeing that all over my news feed personally, up 117% to last year. And then outside of that, whether it's bridesmaids or a guest of, but a flowy midi dress. And I thought that this was quite interesting just because we haven't really seen many midis as of late. There was a lot more action happening within maxi, and then maybe not so much for weddings, but lots of minis as well. So to see a midi start to populate again, I think it has again a lot to do with we're coming up to the end of wedding season. How can we continue to be elevating and looking for some interesting different dresses as we come into holiday party season? And then lastly, of course, we all saw Taylor Swift's engagement happening and this spike in old mine cut diamonds going up 972% because of that is just so crazy and notable here. Okay, so then our next storyline is driving value. So, value driven products are on the rise across categories as consumers desire long term wear, seasonless or timeless pieces, and sustainability. So, for example, minimalist styles like minimalist jewelry and the minimalist tote bag are key within accessories. And then things like a cow print sneakers, which of course that feels like it could still be a little bit more of a trend item. But as we talk about different animal prints that can act in action as a new neutral that feels a little bit more interesting, we can consider that and look at that search growth at 100 and 1,266% to last year. So it feels like a fun, different sort of neutral or staple item when she's getting bored of that classic white sneaker that still can match with everything. And then things like sustainable swimwear. So something that feels like it's going to last longer. It's aligned with her values. Another way to again look at that driving value sort of theme, and that's up 650% in searches to last year. And I do think that this is interesting as well. And we're going to talk about this later on in beauty, but. For a while there, the exact term of sustainable had been down and it is coming back up. So that is something to be watching once again. And again, if you're a brand that leans into this or a retailer that does, which is amazing. We love that. But think of those ways that we can really drive that home, whether it's through SEO, marketing, and different campaigns too, to be telling that important story. Okay, and then looking at our trending styles within the bottoms category. So this fall, we're looking at lots of trendy silhouettes happening as well as updates in denim. So when it comes to Gen Z, we are looking at the G-string pant, which sure, I'm personally seeing this all over TikTok. Very, very Gen Z, I will say, very evening going out, of course. But it's up 148% to last year. And then when it comes to denim, what I do think is interesting, high rise denim and cigarette jeans are both performing quite well when it comes to search growth in particular. With that being said, I think it's very, again, trend driven. It's coming from the way that like I'm seeing these come in tandem together. So it's like high rise, skinny, it's creating a nice long line. With that being said, I do think that there isn't necessarily a return to high rise as a whole. But low rise is still a love or hate relationship. And so I do think that you're having people who aren't necessarily familiar with the term of mid rise or just like normal jeans. I think that because they know high rise from years back, it just seems like, okay, I know that I don't want low rise. So I'm going to start searching high rise. So I think those are two things to think about when it comes to both high rise and cigarette. And then lastly, denim cutoffs are up 383% to last year. Considered a safe bet. Definitely seeing this styled with boots for fall. Lots of like denim cutoff shorts, whether they're mini length or more of a Bermuda, coming up big for fall. And then again, being styled in just like a really cool way. Maybe it's like a big funnel neck jacket and a cool pair of boots. Definitely like a very fashion forward look. Okay, so diving us into men's. So just real quick overall, looking at our emerging and safe bet trends lists here, what stood out to me was the juxtaposition. So we're going to dive in here quickly to one of our other themes, but see more like it's very classy or elevated take or luxury market interest. And then there's almost like a juxtaposed other side that feels a little grittier, let's say with men's torn jeans or acid wash or flannel shirt, and then lots of sports driven updates as well. So kind of interesting because it felt like a little bit of less of like an everyday wear, but it was like very casual, gritty, and then very elevated. Like you're gonna see a let's see, is that the first one? No, it's the second one. Like a double breasted suit coming back. So interesting to know. Okay. But our first theme here, getting into optimized. So consumers are looking to get more out of their everyday apparel with optimized performance capabilities. Maybe this is something like a moisture wicking pant that's up 597% to last year, or breathable socks. Both of these, they could be for every day, or it could be for someone who's into hiking for fall, or they're going skiing, or we just saw the marathon happen. So that could also be playing in line here. And then Lululemon's ABC pants, and then a men's wraparound sunglasses are other high performing pieces when it comes to search growth as well. Okay, and we'll get into the downtown guy. Like every now and then, we have just a slew of super fashion forward pieces start to rise within growth. So the Please Say plant pant, whether it is by Izzy Miyake or not, has definitely been rising again, which is quite interesting. I think when it comes to menswear, texture is always something that's an easy way to elevate from a fashion perspective, just because we know that they're not quite as daring when it comes to silhouettes per se. So texture is always an easy play, whether it is maybe like a waffle knit or a plissé. So I thought that that was interesting to see it being resonating so well, up 118% here. And F1 jackets are another like very street style staple that we're seeing grow. And then, as we mentioned, there has been so much happening within menswear jewelry. We've talked about that the last couple months, but I wanted to note the men's sterling silver bracelet is still just like owning surge growth, up 233%. And another, again, very forward, but the men's choker necklace up 51% to last year. Okay, so getting into, we talked about more of the elevated trend that was happening within the menswear data this month. So very much all about like very classy looks that do lean nostalgic. So the men's double-breasted suit is one of the is like really so far, I will say, in our data set is like one of the only suiting terms that was really populating at the moment. And then it was getting more into accessories. So things like silk ties being up 151% to last year, and then men's printed socks, and then when it comes to more of a casual wear, still having that elevated take, and they're looking for luxury sneakers, just like in general, rather than a specific style. And that's up 898% in searches to last year. So I think that's really interesting to note that maybe he isn't like, okay, that downtown guy that knows exactly what sneaker style that he is looking for, but he knows that he wants to elevate his game a little bit. Okay, and then let's get into beauty. And so, as I mentioned, remember, and I talked about within women's wear, the sustainable coming back, and in tandem in beauty. Oh my God, I have not seen so many vegan terms popping back up. So we have vegan face wash, vegan lipstick, and we're going to talk all about that a little bit more as well. And then even getting down here into the safe bets of just cruelty-free makeup in general, being up 2,565%. Crazy. That's a wild number, especially for something that is general, not necessarily like an it item. We typically see that type of data when it comes to a very specific it item, like you know, a road lip gloss, for example, that's super specific. So very interesting. And then same thing with the eco-friendly hairbrush. I've been seeing so many girls like elevating their hairbrush game. It's like with the Boris head bristle or like I think back to Taylor Swift, like she uses a specific hairbrush that she uses. Sure. Okay, so leading us in again to here, this gone vegan. So noting vegan makeup up 2,068% to last year. And then specifically getting us into, I saw this run across the board into vegan mascara up over 1,000%, vegan foundation up 471%. And noting that then also will bring in the vegan nail polish up 395%. It's all rising at accelerated growth rates. So not only is the volume high, but the velocity is really rising as well. Okay, and then getting into iconic as our last theme here. If you tuned in to our runway report, we talked a lot about how on the runways within beauty, eyes were absolutely the focal point where a lot of the skin and just remained to be more natural when it came to finishes, contours, all of that good stuff. But where a lot of interest was happening right now, both at retail and the runways, is around lips and then eyes. So looking at the lash enhancing serum is up 103%. A great, actually like a vegan. I'm not sure if they're vegan, so I won't say that. But for a natural brand, do you think that they are vegan? Called Swede, SWEED. They're an emerging brand, really cool. I've tried out a few of their products and they're awesome. But online, everyone is talking about their lash enhancing serum. And a lot with the lash enhancing serums, it can be noted that they can change eye color, or be irritating. So, being thinking here, how can we add in safety as well? So, volumizing mascara, again, this is at 488%. Waterproof eyeliner is another one that's coming up. So, maybe that has to do with her trips that she's taking for these destination weddings. And then Fox eyebrows making their way back around once again. So looking at different eyebrow shapes is again another big trend happening on TikTok that we're seeing resonate within searches as well, up 135%. Okay, and then lastly, getting into nails. So lots and lots of manicure trends have been popping up. Most notably, looking at just minimalist manicure and ways to make it a bit more interesting. So I love this image over here on the left, how it's bringing in another top trend like polka dots, which are up 100,000 and 100, oh my God, 1,159% in searches to last year, but done in a very minimalist manner. So, it's grounded in these neutral tones. And it feels like, again, it gives a little something extra without going over the top. Also looking at long wear nail polish, we're seeing long wear foundation, long wear nail polish, things that she's really getting her use and her money's worth out of, being other top trends across the board and a really big theme that's driving interest. Okay, and for our final category, we'll get into children's. So, what I thought to be a big standout here was those little details that go a long way. That we're not just searching for sweaters, but we're searching for a polka dot sweater. And it's not just a jumpsuit, but it's a color block jumpsuit or a faux fur slide. So, it has this element of fun that's being added in to staple items. And I think, it's such a great way to be elevating kids and just be having fun with those styles. Okay, so looking into hair styled as our first theme, children's hair accessories are on the rise from this like very fun and styled look. Things like the terry cloth headband is up 81% to last year. Spiral hair ties, super easy there. And then getting into even more fun with a star clip and barrettes being used, whether it's just one with a cool motif or adding in a few different colors or whatnot within the hair. But those accessories are experiencing growth within that category. Okay, and then getting into our next one, which we're calling Horse Girl. So children's wear is taking notes from the trending Western styles within women's wear. In tops, Horse Girl sweaters are up 228%, alongside the plaid flannel shirt is also seeing a rise, which again, it's very, very fall, very classic. The suede bomber jacket is another one that's continuing to rise and again it feels very mommy and me. So showing up in some sweeter styles. Like I love this and like a light pink suede, super cute for the girls category. And then Western style boots are also really working well within kids. Okay, so lastly, we just want to touch on here right around the holiday, calling in just Labubu and friends. So this is really just taking the Labubu and running with it within all the different brands and characters that are playing here. So within previous months, we had really only seen Labubu populate, and then now we're seeing skull pandas, crybabies. I was at a press event for Urban Outfitters recently, and they were like really leaning into the crybabies. So different ways for gifting, and if maybe Labubu's not the biggest one, what works for you and your for your brand at your price point, all of that good stuff, but giving those variety of options. I was also talking to one of my friends too, who was just saying that she saw Marc Jacobs out at dinner and he had a bag with like 5 Labubus hanging on it. So they're hanging and they're strong and they have the stamp of approval. All right, guys. So that is our end here for November top trends. As always, if you guys have any questions, happy to do a quick chat now. And then you're always welcome to email us at hello@trendalytics.co. But we do have a few minutes here if anyone wants to pop in any questions related to the data or in general, anything you want to chat about with holiday or fall seasons. All right, going once, going twice. Any questions? All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining, and we will see you back here next month to go over December top trends.